one myth that people have about franchise success is that it's all about location. My edible arrangements location, my first one, was adjacent to Beverly Hills. So we serve the Beverly Hills, West Hollywood communities, extremely affluent. Well, my colleagues thought, well, that means that my clientele, they're walking down the street with Benjamins, flying out of their pockets, and they're just no problem buying a $500 arrangement. These people and these businesses did not become financially successful because they want to waste their money. The fact is these territories are not as dense. There aren't as many people living there. It's too expensive. It's a very demanding clientele. That had nothing to do with our success. In fact, to do business there, we had to pay extremely high rent. There's a lot of vehicular traffic on our street, but not necessarily a lot of walk-in traffic. And because there were so many cars in the area, it was that much harder to make deliveries. So we succeeded in spite of where our territory was, not because of it. The second biggest myth is that wealthy franchisees are workaholics, that they're there day and night, that they are slaves to their business, and that's why they succeed. Simply not true. Now, often in the beginning, it's true. They're working the long hours, but what they're busy doing isn't just facilitating transactions or mopping up or doing work they could be paying someone else to do. They're spending that time really getting the business off the ground, really training their employees to work independently so that then they can focus on growing the business or doing other things. Some people think, well, wealthy franchisees must be highly educated. It's not true. Most of them seem to have bachelor's degrees, but not all of them. And I've seen no correlation whatsoever between formal education and franchise success. What I have seen the correlation is people who are willing to spend their time learning. They have an open mind. They ask questions. They're willing to absorb new ideas. So in a franchise, the education you've got is less important than the education you're willing to get on the floor of your store, operating and listening to your franchisor. Clearing your brain so you can see things as they are. So what drives you isn't your excitement or your fear. What drives you are your reports. What drives you is your profit and loss statement. What drives you is the data. That's important. But that's hard because we're human beings and we have emotional reactions to things, and we have stress and we have enthusiasm. And when something like the pandemic happens, it's easy to catastrophize. Instead of looking at your data, to start looking at your crystal ball, anticipating all the bad things that might happen or the things that we want to happen. Now, as someone who gets hired to get up in front of a group of franchisees and give them messages, this is sometimes a difficult message to deliver because it makes me sound like a corporate hack. You're telling us to toe the line, to follow the system because you're being paid by corporate. Well, it's true. I've never had a franchisor pay me to tell franchisees to deviate from the system, to ignore compliance, of course. But what I have found is when I look at these great franchisees, they're not necessarily innovative. They're not necessarily creative. They're not interested in inventing new ways of doing business. That defeats the whole purpose of buying a franchise. What makes them great is the way they execute. If you want to change the world, you can do that with your business. If all you want to do is just get financially rich, you can do that with your business. And it just so happens that the tactics you need to do that to get financially rich are the same thing as changing the world by continuously putting value out there. That's what these wealthy franchisees do. So if you're a franchisee, if you're a franchisor who's assisting franchisees, it's important that we all maintain a clear head with constructive thoughts, that we stick to the proven system and maintain really good relationships between franchisee and franchisor and with franchisee to franchisee, and that we continuously focus on what can we do to make other people's lives better with our business, our employees, our customers, our communities, and just the world in general. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it happens to be one of the very clear characteristics of wealthy franchisees.